again we are with another interesting story. We all love our parents, don't we? Don't you also love your grandparents? What do they do for you? What do you do for them? Those of you who love your grandparents will have a smile on your face now, because they will be caring you, they will be pampering you, and they will be playing with you. So here we have a very loving story, very interesting story, and a lesson, that is the wooden cup. We shall now wait on our Abhirami as she speaks about the author Domenico Vittorio.
Hello everyone, I am Abhirami Mbiju from Standard 70. Today, I am here to say the biography of Domenico Vittorio. Domenico Vittorio was born in Italy on October 28, 1892 and died 66 years later on March 9, 1958. He was an Italian author and professor. He immigrated to the USA in 1970 and received graduate degree in English at Princeton University. He taught briefly at Temple University before joining faculty at University in Pennsylvania, where he taught Romance language and word literature from 1990 to 1958. He wrote many books, but among from his books, the famous one is The Thread of Life. With this, I am concluding the biography.
Before we could move on to the new story, The Wooden Cup, shall I ask you a few more questions? Do you have old people in your house, in your neighborhood? How do you take care of them? How do the other people in the house treat them? Are they happy? Do you talk to them about it? Does the title give you any hint about what the story is about? Explain. Write in your notebook. Look at the picture. Can you guess the theme of the story or say what it might be? The wooden cup. Once upon a time, in far off Italy, it happened in Italy, there was a little boy whose name was Robertino. He loved his grandfather very much. The little boy and the old man were good friends. They spent much time together. They were together always. Robertino loved to sit on his grandfather's knee and listen to the stories he told him. See, all these words are very familiar to you. I don't need to explain anything. Grandfather was a wonderful storyteller. And oh, the stories he told. Fairy tales and exciting hunting stories, like one in which grandfather himself had once caught an eagle. There was a strong bond of love between the two. Who were these two? Grandfather and Robertino. Grandfather had come to live with Robertino's parents when grandmother died 3 years before. So after his wife's death, he has come to live with them. Robertino's mother did not understand the loneliness of the old man. Robertino's mother, that means his daughter-in-law, did not know the loneliness, the left feeling that he had. She didn't know about it. Sometimes she was very impatient with him. She was so rude with him especially when he is holding something and if it falls, then she gets annoyed, she gets angry. One night after dinner, grandfather lifted his cup to drink his coffee. You can imagine grandfather, aged man, so he will be shivering. His poor old hands shook so much that the coffee spilled on the clean white tablecloth. Then you can imagine how the lady will be treating him. The cup, falling from his hands, broke into many pieces. Robertino's mother spoke angrily to the old man. Grandfather never said a word in reply, but only looked at her with sadness. In his eyes there was sadness. He couldn't say anything. Robertino was also very unhappy because mother was that much angry. Poor dear grandfather. So there are two questions here. How did the grandfather entertain the boy? What does it show? Why did the mother speak angrily? What was the grandfather's reaction? After that, grandfather had to eat all alone at a little table in the kitchen. After that, she never allowed the grandfather to sit with them for the dinner because he has folded the white tablecloth. There was sadness in his eyes when he heard about this little new arrangement. He was so sad to hear that he has to sit in the kitchen and eat all alone. There was sadness in the gentle smile he gave his grandchild. With that sadness, but still, he gave a cute smile to the grandchild, that is to our Robertino. As soon as Robertino finished his dinner, he would run into the kitchen to be with the old man he loved so much. What did Robertino do? He will finish his food fast and he will run to the kitchen to be with grandfather. And the kitchen became a beautiful land where there was no pain and no sadness. When Robertino entered the kitchen, then it was not a kitchen at all. It was like a beautiful land. There was no pain and sadness. There the old man and the little child could move about happily hand in hand. They were making very jolly time at that time because Robertino's father and mother were in the dinner hall. Time went on. Grandfather grew older and weaker. His hands shook more and more. One night, as he sat all alone in the kitchen, his hands shook. His hands shook too much. He dropped his cup of soup. The cup broke into many pieces. Robertino's parents rushed to the kitchen and saw the spilled soup on the clean floor. Here we can now think what might have this lady said to the old man for how she behaved. But Robertino was upset looking at that, hearing that. His mother spoke more angrily than she had ever done before. This was the time she was so rude and crude, and she has never spoken ever before like this. So Robertino was upset. The only thing to do was to give the old man a wooden cup. The thing she said was not to give any good cup for him again, give a wooden cup. She didn't want her dishes broken just because he had become so careless. She did not want to lose any of her dishes. So she wanted to provide him a wooden cup which would not break. Suddenly, the child went over to the fireplace where his mother had swept the pieces of the cup. Suddenly, the child went over to the fireplace. She has taken everything and put it there where his mother had swept the pieces of the cup. He picked the pieces carefully and began to put them together. And he put the cup and then slowly, carefully he was putting them together. Soon the cup seemed to be whole. Suddenly the whole cup became all right. Then he took a small piece of wood from the fireplace. Where she was keeping the woods, and began to chip it. Slowly he was chipping the wood. He kept his eyes on the earthen cup. The earthen cup was kept in front of him, and looking at that, he was chiseling the wood as though it were a model for him. "What are you making, Robertino?" asked his mother fondly. So quietly she came and asked, "What are you doing, Robertino?" She was so happy making something good, "I'm making a wooden cup for you to have when you grow old." sentence Robertino used here. I'm making a wooden cup for you to have when you grow old. Can be said in different voice. Can be said so lovingly, can be said so rudely, can be said with it to me. Answered Robertino. Robertino's mother and father were too ashamed to look into Robertino's eyes. Robertino was a small child and they were ashamed, father and mother were ashamed to hear from his mouth. They took grandfather's arm and led him back to the dining room. The climax of the story. So looking at the Robertino, learning from Robertino, they are taking the father back to the dining hall and helped him as he ate. They started to feed him so that nothing will fall down, nothing will break. See, a little boy could change the mind and behavior of the parents. There are a few questions. What made the kitchen a beautiful land? Is the mother right in thinking of giving the old man a wooden cup? Justify your answer. Pick out the expressions that show the boy's love for his grandfather. How did the boy teach his parents a lesson of love? Do you like Robertino? Why? When you know, after leading him to the dining room, helping him to eat, from that time, grandfather never ate all alone in the kitchen. Grandfather never ate alone in the kitchen. He sat in his usual place where he was seated earlier, next to Robertino, in the dining room. Robertino was happy again. His grandfather was loud and careful. He was so happy because he loved the grandfather very much and now the grandfather is loud and cared. Robertino realized that his parents too were experiencing the true happiness that love and kindness bring. So here, Robertino realized what was the real love because the parents really experienced it, the love and kindness. Nowadays we can see the older people at home are neglected. Sometimes they are being carried to the old age home. But dear little ones, understand, you are here on earth because of your father and mother. And your parents are there with you because of your grandparents. To care them, love them, because they have spent their day and night for God. So in return, you have to show the same kindness and love towards them. God will surely bless them. So after they die, when they are in heaven, they will remember you and they will pray for you. So care them, love them, have compassion towards them. On page 119, there are a few more questions. You have noticed that Robertino loved his grandfather very much. Don't you love your grandparents? How would you care for your grandparents? Write in a paragraph. Don't you remember the stories your parents and grandparents told you? How did you feel then? Recollect a story and present in the class. You may also describe the feelings you had when you listened to it. You have already written your stories in the previous lesson because the grandmother was saying the story. In that chapter you have already written. Describe any memorable incident that happened when you were with your grandparents. They have asked you to play it in the classroom. You can also, if you have any friends next to your houses, you can have the role play and send the video to you. Any incident you can have towards loving grandparents. See how happy Robertino and his grandfather were in the kitchen. Imagine how they spent time with each other. Describe such a scene. You may write about their friendship, their deep love for each other, their conversation between them, the activities they engaged in. You have seen how love binds all members of the family together. No wonder love is the string of a necklace, the beads of which are the members of the family. You must have had a lot of happy occasions when your family and relatives got together. Describe any such occasion in your own words. Birthdays, weddings, anything. Grandparents' Day is celebrated in many countries for honoring grandparents. Do your grandparents live with you? Prepare a greeting card expressing your love and care for your grandparents.
Hello friends, it's me, Caitlin here again. As we all know, today is Grandparents' Day and I'm here to talk a few words about grandparents. Grandparents are known as the root of the family. They are very experienced and knowledgeable. and they always share the lessons of their precious life to help new generations learn and grow. They selflessly serve their children and grandchildren and help them to become better people. I'm grateful for having loving and caring grandparents. I have made a card to make my grandparents happy. So now let's see it. Thank you.
My name is Ima Grace. I'm studying in St.Teresa school at Nakula. I love my grandparents a lot. Their selfless love for us is greatly admirable. My papa and mama is very active and vibrant devote of their age. They bought us toys and prepare us very tasty food. They tell us old stories which we keenly listen. I love them a lot.
നൽകത്തെ സ്നേഹവും മാതാപിതാക്കളുടെ ബഹുമാനവും നൽകി.
Next activity 7, you have to just go through it, answer it. About the wooden cup, it is asked how many characters are there, answering out right, and comments. One comment is there given. Robertino and his grandfather love each other. The mother did not care for the grandfather. So read it and write it, and you will know. Again, activity 8, can you retell the story The Wooden Cup? As a first step, fill the boxes with the major events. There are 10 boxes. So write the events now, as you have seen in the somebody's mother. Write the events first, and after that write a story in your own words. Write a story of your own, arranging the events in proper sequence. Use the story wheel as given above. How did Robertino bring back love and happiness to his home? Write a paragraph. A house is built by hands, but a home is built by hearts. What are the things that make a house a happy place to live in? So there are a few things given about the family. Now write about a happy home using the hints given here. In colorful way they have given the hints. What all things are necessary for a home. Relationship among the members of the family, care for each other, adjustment, how love works, duties and responsibilities, proper understanding, respect, love. Again you add the things that are there in your family, and you will be able to write that beautiful description about your home. As we grow older, our health declines. We often become prey to several illnesses. We will be sick. Such a loss of memory, shivering, indigestion, sleeplessness. You may form groups and conduct a survey on the problems and illness of the aged people. Prepare a report on the basis of the data collected. In the handbook, there we have they have given the questionnaire. I shall put it in your video so that it will be easy for you to make a survey out of it and submit the project survey report when you are asked to bring it to the